Thank you, Dr. Mahipal, for this opportunity to be in the part of your course. I'm very glad to see that the audience is still there after a 1.5 hour punishment of refractive surgery talks. So I believe that the interest has moved ahead, and many of us are very much interested in doing even better in refractive surgery. Related to this would be the first basic talk in this course. We've all come to understand from the last course onwards that surface ablation has rejuvenated, and it has become a very important platform to work on, because we now understand that there is definitely a lot more biomechanical stability as against a flap which is cutting more into the peripheral corneal fibers, and this surface scrape is a better way to go. Of course, the limitations are that you need to do a smooth epithelial debridement as against what was done earlier, which was one of the causes of a greater inflammatory response and an improper healing. So now that we have better modalities of doing a laser scrape of the cornea, the smooth surface is addressed. We have come to understand that we have better tools to modulate the healing and the haze. The best ways to go about it is to treat mild and moderate myopias. I would treat only up to -6. I would not treat more than 80 microns of ablation, and definitely avoid a small optic zone. And if we get aggressive in treating a thinner cornea, we should be cautious that we may be unraveling an iatrogenic ectasia. So this is a typical thin cornea which is to be treated. There are n number of indications, either as a primary procedure or as a secondary correction of any flap complications. We could do a surface ablation. As you can see that this was a small inadequate flap, which now I would never use a microkeratome or a femtolaser, but definitely do a surface ablation, because the smallness of the eyes could create a suction loss. Again, a vertical breakthrough, if it has occurred primarily, you could go ahead and do a surface ablation. A buttonhole, which hardly ever occurs nowadays, is essentially a steep corneal effect when you're running a microkeratome on the eye. And these situations we should see well in advance by understanding a better understanding of a topography and do a primary surface ablation. Again, these are n number of flap complications, a partial flap, a free flap, or a RK, which were all the refractive errors were essentially being treated with a microkeratome. But now if it's a flat cornea or a very steep cornea, we could do a primary surface ablation. Again, if it is a post-cataract enhancement, if it is a thinner cornea, we could do a surface ablation, which is actually better than creating a flap, because in the older age group, there is more of dryness issues, which are better if done on a surface mode. Again, you could have tried sometimes placing a suction speculum and doing a femtosecond laser flap, and you keep doing multiple number of times. But you have to accept a defeat at some point of time and realize that the eye is too small, and then go ahead and give up on doing a femtosecond laser flap, but do a surface ablation as was what was done. And although there's a little delay in the healing response, these patients do well. This was just a one time when I did this. I used a microkeratome, and I got a small incomplete flap, as you can see in both eyes of the same patient. And as the patient had to leave within a couple of weeks time, I did a surface ablation in the same sitting, and actually he came back later after 6 months, and I found his topography was very good. I wouldn't tell that we should be doing surface ablation as a retreatment on the same sitting, but as this was a small flap which was well away from the visual axis, this is a thought. Again, this was another patient who had a very small refractive error, and it was my third case of SMILE. When you have a very thin, small refractive error, you should increase the thickness of the lenticule, which I had not done. So I had went ahead and started the SMILE. And as I was trying to lift the flap, the lenticule was too thin. I did a lot of digging around, and finally I couldn't get the lenticule at all. And at that time, I stopped the procedure and went ahead and did a surface ablation. And the patient, this was a pre-op after doing the SMILE, and then I did a surface ablation because I had not removed the lenticule at all. So there are multiple ways that surface ablation comes as a very sophisticated tool to bail us out of all these problems which are created because of the topography or created by us. And this is how her post-op treatment was. There are different modalities which have evolved to do a surface ablation. Either LASIK, which was done with 20% alcohol, which was exposed for 90% alcohol, which was exposed for 20 seconds, or a plastic separator was used to create a separation between the basement membrane and the Bowman's membrane, which is what was called as EpiLASIK. But now most of us have moved on to doing a transepithelial PRK, where we remove the 50 micron of epithelium with a laser and in the same sitting do the power correction. What we need to remember is that we need to add that 0.5 diopters for the overcorrection which occurs when you do on the surface. There are different ways with which you could address pain by using chilled BSS, irrigating before doing the treatment, or keeping an ice pack for 15 seconds, or placing a BCL after doing the treatment. And placing the BCL and removing it after 5 days ensures that the epithelium regrows and the pain is addressed. The other ways which you could address the wound modulators are using mitomycin, which could 0.02% for 30 seconds is what I use. I'm sure each of us have evolved our own time, duration, and concentration. And topical steroids, I prefer to use it on a tapered regime for 3 months, and vitamin C on a BD regime for 6 weeks. Are different ways. I have found that I have never had a single case of haze in my series of surface ablation. If you have it inadequately, supposing the patient has stopped the steroid drops halfway and comes back with a little haze, you could restart the topical steroids and invariably the haze disappears. I had one patient who came treated elsewhere with this amount of significant haze, where I had to scrape the epithelium and then place mitomycin, and the epithelium which regrew definitely was clearer with very insignificant haze. Stromal incursion, which was known in the earlier EpiLASIK. In these situations, now, if you've had a stromal incursion like this, you have to abort the treatment. But if such a patient comes back to you, you could now do a transepithelial PRK once the topography and the refractive errors have stabilized. There are different applications in the topo-guided treatment, which I was talking to you in my earlier talk, wherein you could use the surface ablation modality to regularize the cornea, as was done in the slow hinge, and the patient stabilized. And moving further, this was again a free flap which was not inadequately treated, and a topo-guided regularization was done, and the patient did extremely well post-treatment. Because of the paucity of time, I'm skimming through. This is again a topo-guided PRK with CXL, which was done in a form frustae keratoconus. And here there was no change in the Q value, and just a small amount of refractive error was corrected along with cross-linking, and the higher order aberration significantly reduced, and the patient did very well. Again, there could be some situations. This is again a PRK extra which was discussed in the last talk, wherein a patient had a suspicious topography, a little inferotemporal thinning, an oblique astigmatism, and all doubtful red flags on the Bellens. And these patients, when they undergo surface ablation with cross-linking, they do stabilize well, but I'm sure we need to study a lot more eyes before we could conclusively do it for n number of patients with fixed criteria. Again, this is the last of my slide, wherein this patient again had an inferior ectasia, wherein a topo-guided treatment was done along with cross-linking. But here the Q value was not played around with. A small amount of refractive correction was done, and you could see that the topography regularized. But we should be very clear that we do not treat more than 40 micron of the refractive error. So we can go on and on and on, but we have to understand that surface ablation is definitely a major portfolio in our refractive armamentarium. Thank you.